The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel welcomes you to this edition of the Mayor's and Supervisors Weekly Update, brought to you by...
Each week, our community makes history. Each week, you make history. And each week, there's only one source to turn to for the first take on history. You know what that is? Subscribe to the Sentinel right now to discover the history being made in your own backyard.
The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. More than just your news, it's your history.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Mayor's and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel, and each week we bring you the goings-on in the towns and villages that we cover. This week we're starting off with the village of Honeoye Falls. Rick Milne, what's going on there?
Hey, Chris, it's great to see you and everyone else. There's an old saying from a story long ago, out of the frying pan into the fire. And it feels like with the weather, we've been doing that. We've had the bitter cold, a lot of snow and ice buildup, and now over the last few days, we've had some warmer temperatures and rain. And, it's kind of nice to see some of the snow melting away and the ice going away, but it also brings the potential for property flooding and higher than normal creek levels. So just as a reminder, a lot of times, especially some of us in older homes, we don't tend to go down our basements all the time and maybe double check that sump pump and the drain, the floor drain. Take some time, go down your basements, make sure you don't have any water issues. And remember that while you're driving around our communities, there is certainly potential for some road and parking lot floodings as well. So just be aware of that. And then, of course, at night it gets colder, and some of that stuff starts to freeze up, and that creates the other issue again. So just be vigilant when you're out and about. The village is now officially in budget mode, and we're working diligently. We'll be working diligently on that over the next couple of months. As stated in previous Sentinel calls, we do conduct budget workshops, and they are open to the public to listen in. They are in person. They're not held online. So we don't do our budget meetings on Zoom or anything like that. They're in person only, but they are open to the public. These workshops are currently scheduled for March 7th, 14th, and 21st, which are all Saturdays, beginning at 8 a.m. During this process, we will review each and every line within the budget and address as necessary. It's a somewhat laborious process, but certainly a necessary and required process. And while the goal is always that we don't want to raise the tax rate, we also know that costs continue to rise and that we need to keep our services up to date and in effect. So again, please feel free to attend our budget workshops if you wish. We don't have a lot of dialogue with the public during those workshops until the last workshop. And then we will normally open that up to any questions if someone wants to address the board. Couple of small local business updates. TK's on the Falls has now started serving breakfast from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. Sorry about that. 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thursday through Sunday. This is another nice option in the village. And we also welcome the MJ Dispensary to the community. They have opened their storefront on West Main Street with a soft opening on the 6th of February. Their grand opening is expected in March with a date to be announced, and we thank them for their investment into the community. I spoke a couple months ago and said that, in some of the upcoming Sentinel calls like this, we try to do some educational training, and we're going to pop up with some things that we get questions asked of us every once in a while. And as a matter of fact, this past week, the village board held a special meeting, and it was very clearly posted. And it was also a meeting that we were going to open and then go into executive session. And a lot of times people say, well, what's executive session and why do you do that? Well, there are times that a municipality or governmental entity has a meeting that may start as an open meeting, but then they may move into what's called executive session. And there are general rules and regulations that need to be followed under open meetings law. All meetings that are held and are attended by a quorum of a particular board need to be properly advertised. There are various ways to properly advertise in the Sentinel. We can post it on boards. We can post it in our Facebook pages and websites. And there are normally time requirements to do that. Normally, we have to advertise a meeting with at least 72 hours notice unless it's an emergency. For a municipal group to move into executive session, they should also open the general meeting and then ask for a motion to move into executive session. Once that's completed and voted on, the time is noted and the executive session may start. At that time, anyone not part of the executive session or any resident may be asked to leave. There are also general requirements of what can be addressed in executive session. Generally, these are employee or personnel issues that would not be considered public information. It may also be other legal matters that could be pending or legal information, again, that would not be open to general public review. The board may not spend money or address budget items under executive session. So we want people to understand what we're doing and why. After that executive session is discussed and completed, the meeting would be closed. And if action is to be taken, then the board may reopen under general session, and the public or those not involved in that executive session may re-enter. I know that's a lot to go over, but it's important. When people think often that when we go into executive session, we're doing things to hide things from the public. And that should not be the case. And I can only speak for the village of Honeoye Falls, but I'm sure all my counterparts here are the same. We don't go into executive session to hide things from the public. It's because it's a legal process and there's some legal discussion going on that cannot be divulged to the general public at that time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because every once in a while, the village of Honeoye Falls will conduct a trustee workshop and go into executive session, or we'll have a general board meeting and at the end, go into executive session to discuss a legal matter. So happy to address any questions on that. People can always reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to get back to them. And lastly, this past week, we recently had the passing of a local resident, Mary Tishner. Mary Tishner and her husband, Paul, were longtime business owners here in the village, Tishner Furniture Refinishing. This was a business that was well known throughout the region. They did work for many, many great places like the Eastman School of Music, etc. But they had a wonderful business, and Mary was well known around the community. She served on various village committees over the years, and as stated, was a longtime business owner. And she was also very active with our local veterans programs in Post 664. So I just wanted to mention that Mary has passed and she'll be missed. A service for Mary, and this is going to be happening before this article comes out in the paper, but certainly for this being posted on YouTube, Mary's service is this coming Tuesday, the 24th at 10 a.m. at St. Paul of the Cross Church for those interested. So we just wanted to mention that because Mary's just a great person and has been active in this community for so many years, and she will be missed. And with that, thank you, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Rick. That was very nice. Tim Sheefen over in West Bloomfield. What's bopping in West Bloomfield? Oh, well, that didn't work too well. So
you got to brush up on your alliteration skills.
yes.
Well, we've got all kinds of crazy things going on here. This is the first meeting I'm sitting in my official town supervisor office, so hopefully you'll see me here more often. I'm getting my schedule worked out, and I'm trying to keep up with all the stuff that just moves along without me. we just had our February town board meeting, and that was quite a pretty energized meeting. And it's kind of interesting that Rick touched on the executive session. You know, executive session is something I hate. I dislike it with all my being. It doesn't matter what we talk about. The people think we're back there planning and plotting and coming up with all these crazy thoughts and ideas that we don't want them to know about. So it was nice to hear Rick's explanation of why that is and what it's used for. And that's a perfect lead in for me because we have an open town board seat here, which was vacated at the end of 25 by our council member, Mr. Harmon. And I really want to fill that board seat, and I really want a whole board so we can get on with the business of the town. And that's paramount. My goal is to further the benefits of the community of West Bloomfield, be responsible for all those things that a supervisor is responsible for. And unfortunately, you got to have some pretty strong shoulders in circumstances like this. And I'll try to get through this real quickly. We had 4 interested people in this open board seat. Our town board members had a lot of notice. We had a lot of information. We received resumes. We received letters of intent that were all submitted in the time frame required legally to put the word out that we were looking for people to fill the seat. Our board members had time to look at the individual qualities and the resumes of each of the applicants. Unfortunately, when we had our town board meeting, we have a very limited amount of time. And if the persons in the room want to sit there for an enduring amount of time, we can deliberate in a executive session where it's necessary to review these candidates and talk to these candidates. You know, this is personal. I can't put these candidates out on the floor in a public forum and have a job interview. That's not the way it works. Unfortunately, the members in the audience were under the impression that we were only giving these candidates about 7 minutes of time to have an interview. That's how much time they were in the room, but our constituents have to remember we've got resumes, we've got letters of interest, we've had time to review these people's credentials and their qualifications. So it wasn't a 7-minute job interview. This was a process that played out well before the meeting, and the meeting really just housed a window of time for us to sit down and come up with a decision on who we wanted to fill that seat with. That leads me to another problem that was arised at that meeting, and the problem was we were a 3-member board that night. One of my board members unfortunately had a commitment that he couldn't get out of, so Council Member Carey wasn't present. However, Council Member Carey did give us his intentions and his opinions on who he thought was a person he thought would be a good person for that position. So we had that information going into our meeting. But the challenge was on because there were 3 of us and it had to be a unanimous choice. While I would like to sit there and deliberate for hours and persuade my fellow board members to see things my way, that's not what my job is. My job is to do the best job possible for the town of West Bloomfield. And in my opinion, the best job is to get this position filled, get a position filled with the 3 of us all in agreement, and move on. If we put it off another month, we knew Mr. Carey's opinion, and that would have been a 4-member board. There would have been a 3-member majority required to pass it anyways. So why delay the inevitable? So we came to a decision. Unfortunately, it wasn't the decision that many in our audience liked. It wasn't the decision that many in our audience supported, and that turned into an uproar and some hurt feelings and some bruised egos and quite a bit of negative energy in the room. And I tried my best to explain my position to those people, and it is what it is. We now have a new board member. The town of West Bloomfield welcomes Christy Mulhern to our board, and we're eager to see her fill this seat till the end of the year. We will have an election this November for that board seat because there's still another year of that term that needs to be taken care of. So that's the official process. So in November, those other 3 people, if they're still interested, can hit the campaign trail, and we can see if we can get them on a ballot, and then we can see if the townspeople will elect them. And then that board seat has to be is up for re-election a year later. So it's going to be an arduous journey for whoever chooses to fill those shoes. Let's see what happens. Moving right along, what's going on with our highway department? We currently have been awarded a grant for a culvert study here, which has come at a good time because we do have a couple of aging culverts or bridges here. One on Wesley Road was patched up, wow, maybe 15 or more years ago. It needs attention again. The great guys at our highway department have done the best they can, but that's one of those ones that really needs to be replaced. So this grant money is coming at the right time for us to get everything in order so we can proceed. And then I just learned last night at our county board meeting, there's also some funding available from the county for us to do some improvements as well. So it looks like this process is going to be properly timed and well needed on our part. Otherwise, the highway department has been put in a ton of overtime with all this snow. We've moved through salt just like most of the other communities, like it's going out of style. We're being very careful. Our highway superintendent, Jeff Ball, is a great guy. He's got a great team up there. Those guys work their tails off for us, and they all do a really good job. Anybody that drives through our community in the winter knows we have really good highways and good conditions, and it's because of their hard work. We're hoping we can get through the rest of the season without too much need for more salt, because like everybody else, we're going to come to the end of the season and probably have not a speck of salt left. The county, being a member of the county board of supervisors is kind of neat. I get to know what's going on. I get to interact with all the other towns in Ontario County. Last night we had our board of supervisors meeting, and we probably had 7 or 8 people step forward and address the committee. And their concerns is ICE and CBP. So like the rest of the nation, everybody's eyes is fixed on what's going on with ICE and how they're coming into the communities. We've got members of the residents in the county here that are asking that we, as a board of supervisors, define a policy that we can be sure our sheriffs are following. However, we've got a fantastic Ontario County sheriff, and he has already addressed this. He's come to the board meetings, he's made a public statement, and he's been very clear that we don't, as a county, we don't do anything to interfere or interact with either of these two agencies unless they have a warrant that's signed by a federal magistrate. So our county residents can rest assured that what's playing out in some of these other hot spots around the United States is just that. It's ICE and CBP, and it's not our local guys causing trouble and doing all these dastardly things that everybody is so concerned about. So the other hot topic we had, which is kind of neat, in my opinion, is the city of Geneva has approached the county to see if they would help sponsor a grant to develop a trail in the city of Geneva on a former railroad bed. Sound familiar, Chris?
Yes.
So it was interesting to see that play out. There was quite a bit of drama and passion between all of us supervisors. It came down to a roll call vote where every one of us was put one by one out there to let the whole room know where we stood on this path going forward. And it carried. We're going to indicate that we're willing to sponsor this grant application so the grant application can go in. However, we don't have this in our budget, and it's not even going to be available until the 2027 budget. So we're not obligated at this point to put up any money. And that was the concern and the fear in the room, because why would the taxpayers of the county give money for a project in a city that doesn't benefit the taxpayers in the county? It's not a county project. So there was a lot of hubbub about that. And I made a couple of friends last night because I let them know that some 20 plus years ago, our host and myself are probably the only surviving members of the group that helped get that Lehigh Valley Trail put together, implemented, and we were able to get $1.2 million from the T21 grant. And looking back, that task was nothing. And wow, what a fantastic asset we have there in the communities of Rush and Mendon and that linear trail. And God bless Chris, myself, and the other four or more members that are now deceased for putting up with all of the pitchforks and the torches that we endured when we proposed this project going through these poor people's backyards. Um, what an asset we have there in Mendon. And I'm proud that we have it. And it's done wonders for our business district down there. It's done wonders for our businesses. And if people can look forward and see what type of benefits these projects result in, I think they can endure some of this hard, tough, arduous journey to get there. So with that, I will stop yapping. Hope that you guys out there in TV land watch us and stay tuned into what we're doing here at the town. And thanks for the opportunity, my friends.
All right, thanks, Tim. And I will remind everyone that what Tim was referring to is the Lehigh Valley Trail that goes through Mendon, which, Tim, you'll remember, took several years from the beginning of the process. So, if you're just starting the process now in Ontario County, it's going to be a while before you actually have to spend any money or see anything. So, all right. Well, I don't usually talk during these things, but Tim, you made me talk. Lee, what's going on in Rush? Speaking of Rush, that's the Lehigh Valley Trail goes through Rush too.
I'm just finishing up my 6 weeks on the job in town politics. All of the cold weather has created a lot of problems for our building, and we've had some leakage, but we're working on that. As soon as the snow melts, I will try and get professionals in to take a look at the building and figure out what we can do to make sure that we don't have that problem the next time we have a lot of freezing. I've heard reports from seniors and questions that came to me. Years back, we had a group that would help seniors make sure that they are not stuck in their homes doing heavy snow. And people would come and help them clean their snow, make sure they can get out of their homes and be safe. I also want to thank our highway superintendent, DJ Kyle, and his team, who has done an excellent job throughout this winter, even though all of the heavy snow and difficulties that we've had with snow. I've been looking and working since I came into office to have a new secretary, and I finally got one this week, which now will give me the opportunity to focus more on the things that I had planned to do, that I ran on. And one of the things is right-sizing town government. We have an opportunity to get a grant that we've been working on, and we have progressed to the third stage. The grant is to improve the intersection at 251 and 215A, will increase safety for pedestrians and bicyclists. Also, a mile of sidewalks to improve the intersection. I had an inquiry to build a sports area at our parkland on East River Road. The state gave us 315 acres. 215 acres is on East River Road, and 100 additional acres on Route 251 on the Genesee River. I will be proposing a resolution to be able to continue into that third phase. I did have a talk with the state this morning that gave us information and answers to questions that we have that we needed. On that park area, volunteers have planted hundreds of trees, and I plan to honor our latest Eagle Scout from Rush 134. He made 3 projects for the 100-acre nature park. One large wooden sign where the park at White Spring enters into the 100-acre nature park. One information sharing box to use while standing. One information sharing box while chair accessible. Also, we're continuing to focus on the area of flooding that's in the town of Rogers. I'm also at this point looking to hire a bookkeeper, part-time, and hopefully I can get some support in finding that person from some of the other town supervisors in the county. That's pretty much all that's going on right now. Nonstop work, but we're getting better day by day.
All right. Thanks, Lee. Rick or Tim, do you have anything more to add? Nothing? Okay. That's all right. You don't have to. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you all for watching. Remember, this program airs every Sunday at 1 p.m. on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Like the page or subscribe to the channel, and those platforms will notify you when the broadcast begins. Otherwise, you could read the transcript in next week's paper. That's all for now. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Imagine yourself communicating with a difference. Pan-Dimensional Solutions helps you do this. Whether live spectator events, taped broadcasts, or real-time audience-engaging programs, you can benefit immediately from the tools Pan-Dimensional Solutions will share with you. Do you want to make a difference? Contact us at pandimensional.com.